Good morning and welcome back. The UN Climate Action Summit kicks off tomorrow in New York City, and climate protesters will be hitting the streets. The New York public schools are allowing students to skip classes to join those protests without penalty. But this is just one example of public education embracing a progressive agenda. Joining our panel today is Michael Rechtenwald, the author of Springtime for Snowflakes, Joe Borelli, New York City GOP councilman, and Darby Fox, child and adolescent family therapist. Thank you all for joining us this morning. A good topic to talk about here as we're heading into this. Michael, I'll start with you. Were you surprised when you heard this?
Oh, not at all, because it's been going on across the entire country. Social justice or wokeness is basically ruling the curriculum. They have gutted the curriculum in favor of this kind of agenda, which you said is a progressive agenda, but I think it's really regressive because it's gutting all attempts at making excellence the main criteria for education.
Joe, when I was in school, I don't remember having anything like this. I don't know if you do, but where do we go from here?
No, I had the nuns and some discipline, wrapping me on the hand. But right, I mean, this is throwing the baby out with the bathwater in the name of progressive wokeness. We actually have good programs here in New York City for gifted and talented kids. We have elite high schools like Stuyvesant High School. All this mayor and all this chancellor have tried to do is basically undermine those programs that lifted countless families out of poverty. Backwards policy at its best.
Darby, I like when you say that schools should be focused on teaching students how to think, not what to think. Elaborate on that.
Well, we've gotten away from the piece. We're trying to be progressive and teach them what we're going through, like politically and those kind of changes. What we really need to do is teach them how to think by giving them more of an emotional intelligence, empathy, self-regulation, accountability, motivation, those kind of things, so they know how to do a problem and problem solve, and then they can go out and apply those things on a broader basis.
Let's take a look at this statement from the New York City Department of Education on allowing students to skip class to participate in this climate strike protest. And it says, quote, "We applaud our students when they raise their voices in a safe and respectful manner on issues that matter to them." But I guess I'm hung up on that issues that matter to them, because really this is an issue that matters to the school, it seems, because the school's the one who's allowing these kids to do this.
Right. They act as if this is a predetermined conclusion, and then they just march the students into a protest that's basically foreclosing the possibility of actually having critical thinking about the issue. So instead of having a classroom setting in which this is debated or treated as an issue of contention, which it is, they say it's a foregone conclusion and then just expect everybody to follow suit. This is brainwashing, not teaching.
Joe, by the school allowing the kids to do this with their parents' permission, to have this day off granted in order to go protest, do you think that this is, from the student's perspective, I guess when I think back to my time when I was younger in school, if a school allowed me to do something like this and take a day off to protest climate change, I would think this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is how I'm supposed to feel.
No, and if this was something organic by kids who skipped school and went to a climate change rally, it's more forgivable. But this is the school, the administrators, using their office to encourage progressive policy. I doubt this would be the same policy if there was a Second Amendment rally or if there was an anti-Bill de Blasio rally or something like that. I doubt the New York City DOE would equally support those type of protests.
Let's take a look at this headline from The Atlantic. And the very first line here, Darby, I want to get your opinion on this. It says, quote, "When the culture war comes for the kids." Darby, are we dealing with a culture war? Is it coming for the kids?
We are dealing with a culture war. We look at the meritocracy and the way that the system is built. On one end, you're worrying about kids not having the same access to the gifted and talented programs. And on the other end, we're seeing kids that are only focused on trying to get their highest achieving grades and board scores so they can get the highest level college. What we've missed in there is building the foundation so that people can then achieve on their own. And we've missed it on both ends.
Darby, let me stick with you for a second. If you're a parent who has a kid in these schools and you don't agree with this, how do you talk to your kid about this? What do you do?
Well, it's incredibly important for the parents to present to the child both possible ideas, like who would support this and why would someone else think differently, and then leave it open-ended. One of the problems with what we see, what's happening now, is, again, the school may have a position and they will tell that that's the only way to do it, just as in some of the history teaching, there's only one side, and that, again, does not promote thinking or education.
Michael, you were shaking your head, yes.
Yes, I entirely agree. This is basically closing down debate in advance, and creating an appearance that this is the official position of the school district, which it apparently is, where it should not be. It should not take positions like this. And my contention is this wokeness or social justice is a religion. And therefore, we need to combat it on the basis of the separation clause. This is not supposed to be going on in education. This is purely indoctrination.
Joe, final word.
You're right. It's a religion where there can be no detractors. And we see that in the name of progressive wokeness, parents are now, even progressive parents, are starting to get very frustrated when they're seeing the ramifications actually fall on their children, their families, and basically their child's education future.
All right, Michael, Joe, Darby, thank you all for having this conversation. We appreciate it.